Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's June 9th, it's Thursday. We got a nice little 7-game slate here. So, earlier this week, it was Monday. I let Hoop come on and we were talking and we were chatting some basketball and then we talked some baseball. And he was just so happy that he got some big T bucks. And I'm bringing on my boy Big T to, let us know if he got some of those Hoop bucks here when the Cavs just whooped up on the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, I posted a message on Twitter earlier about how easy this Cavs money was tonight, and I think there's a line like 35 deep around the block, and my boy Hoop was in the front of the line. He was sending me freaking GIFs on there, and it was all about that easy money, but it wasn't so easy tonight. I think I got a few extra hoop bucks in the old holster.
That means you're going to play cash games, right? Because, if you have hoop bucks, you have to play some cash.
Does that mean I have to put it in the cash action when I win the hoop bucks?
Yeah, it's a funny joke. And you were at the mansion last year when me and Tommy, took all that money from Condi and Luke were playing beer pong. It was instant cash games when I took Condi's money.
Absolutely. You got to get those hoop bucks have to run good, too.
Yeah, they do.
Get them in there.
Speaking of bucks, FantasyDraft.com, they're a sponsor over there at FantasyDraft.com. If you haven't checked them out, make sure you guys check them out. Ton of action for PGA. If you guys are playing PGA this weekend, they announced their $10,000 PGA Masters tournament, or not Masters, Open, right?
Yeah, the U.S.
Open tournament. They got a lot of action here for this 7-game slate. So if you guys haven't checked them out, check them out. Use promo code GRINDERS. That way you guys get incentives here at Roto Grinders for free for a year. And you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. We're going to skip over those two early slates. Honestly, it's just ugly. That early slate, that 2-game slate, you got a game at Coors, and you have a game, what is it, Houston, Texas. So there's no pitching. So you skip that slate, right, Tony?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a perfect day to get some little stuff done around the house or something while those afternoon games are going on.
Yeah, start looking at that 7-game late slate even more. Jeff Locke, Chad Bettis at Coors, and then at Texas you have Colin McHugh and Martin Perez. So just stay away from that. If there's a site offering it, I don't even know what to tell you. Stack up Coors or stack up Houston and hope everybody stacks Coors and it goes, it doesn't go off.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know what
There's going to be plenty of offense in the afternoon, you would think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk some of these 7 games. We got a lot, we got a lot of time here, so we'll break down these games. And honestly, the pitching is pretty awful here on this late slate. But we're going to start it off with Angels at Yankees. Ivan Nova, Chacin. Man, these two pitchers, I want nothing to do with these guys. I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on Chacin a little bit lately, but this isn't the spot for him. The Yankees bats are heating up a little bit. I mean, we were talking before the podcast about how we thought they'd be much higher owned tonight, and they went for 12 runs. So, I mean, they're definitely heating up, and I mean, I don't see how you could play either one of these pitchers in this spot.
Yeah, when you're looking at Chacin, over 40 innings dating back to last year against lefties, almost a 40% hard contact rate, 39.9. That's massive. He's going to face a very left-handed heavy team here. His ground ball rate is usually, over 50%. It worries me a little bit, but it doesn't worry me with a hot offense at Yankee Stadium.
The more I'm looking at it, is this price right for Nova? He's only 10,500 on Fantasy Draft.
Yeah, they're just expecting a lot of runs here. So
I'm actually not hating him at 10,500 just because there's not any real great pitching on the slate. So I could actually make a slight case for Nova at that price tag. I mean, that's a hitter's price tag.
Yeah, just where's the upside, But I guess at 10.5, you really don't need upside. You just need him to go out.
Like, is there upside anywhere on the slate?
No. Honestly, there's not. So, yeah. Okay, so you can make a point for Nova, and that's fair. The one thing that Nova does do, he does struggle with lefties, high WOBA, high hard contact. So guys like Calhoun, who's been swinging a hot bat, I think he's definitely a guy you want to look at here.
Yeah, Calhoun has been just on fire. I mean, every time I talk to you, we end up talking about hot streaks and BVP because we both believe in it. I mean, having played sports and stuff, and I mean, teams like the Reds, teams like Calhoun that couldn't hit at all are just on fire. I mean, I don't know how people argue against hot streaks still. Like, I don't even see how there's an argument.
Yeah, but birthday narratives are real.
That always comes up too when we talk.
I know, it's just crazy. But, speaking of BVP, Pujols has hit Nova pretty hard, so I think that's interesting play. Small sample size, but for what we're looking at, Trout, Pujols, both these guys have hit him hard. So I feel like these guys should definitely play here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at all the spreads and the totals. I mean, it's a 9 total. It's going to be an interesting slate for hitting because there's a lot of equal options. It's like most of these days like this. You got to plant your flag somewhere, and the Angels have a lot of things working for them.
So now, when we're looking at this, we're pretty much the first look here. We're doing this night before podcast. We're giving us this is really our first look as well. When you're looking at a game like this, I know what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the total to go up. Wouldn't you expect this 9 to go up to 9.5, 10 here?
I mean, that's why I like doing this show this early, and I just got done watching the basketball, so it's literally the first I'm looking at it. And I always like to look at the raw numbers just because you can see where it moves. I mean, I think 9 is about where I expect it to be. I mean, 2 relatively bad pitchers, but neither one's awful. Both offenses are relatively hot right now. I think it'll stay somewhere around 9. I don't think it'll go up a full half run. Maybe some juice or something.
Fair enough. We're looking at the Yankees bats here against Chacin. Who do you like the most here?
I mean, I just always side towards those outfielders, which makes them interesting to stack because if you play all 3 of them being Ellsbury, Gardner, and Beltran, it locks up your outfield spots. But it's so nice just having them up there. They all can hit lefty. I mean, we were talking before the show too that Chacin struggles with the lefties with hard hit rate, I think you were talking about. And I just like all 3 of them. I mean, I don't love the bottom half of the lineup, but I like all 3 of those outfielders.
No love for Chris Parmelee?
I forgot about him. I do like him if he's back in there.
Yeah, man, like 2K, so you get your first baseman with 3 outfielders from the same team. It's just not a stack people are going to do. I like it here on this slate. I like the Yankee stack. You can't really talk me into anybody but the Yankees here. I like them a lot. Let's move on. Baltimore at Toronto, Marcus Stroman, Tyler Wilson. Stroman, when we're looking at the slate, he's an interesting option. Do you have any thoughts on him?
I mean, just looking at the lines, he looks like he's one of the the biggest home favorite. So, I mean, always when I'm struggling deciding with pitcher, I'm going to side with the biggest favorite naturally. I mean, it's a terrible spot versus a hot Baltimore team, but they do strike out more than most, and it's a tough park. But like we said, pitching's brutal, and I don't hate him being a -150 favorite.
Yeah, I hate the ballpark, so I have to get over that if I'm going to roster him. I just don't know. When you're looking at the slate, it's just tough to even think about one pitcher, then trying to fit in a second one on fantasy draft. So, Stroman, I don't know if I'm going to go Stroman on FanDuel. On fantasy draft, he would be more interesting. DraftKings, more interesting. Just because it's a 2-pitcher site, you have to have a second pitcher. So I expect the Blue Jays to be popular here. Tyler Wilson, a guy that we can definitely pick on with some of these bats. He has an uber ground ball rate to lefties, but honestly, that doesn't affect the Blue Jays because when we're looking at the Blue Jays lineup, it's a right-handed heavy team. So a guy that has, I wouldn't say reverse splits, but when you're looking at his ground ball to fly ball ratio, it's definitely reverse. So I definitely want some of these Blue Jay bats.
Yeah, just looking at it right now, I think they're probably one of my top 2 or 3 offenses just because they're starting to heat up a little bit too. Like they were struggling so much early in the year with the bottom half of the lineup just giving them nothing. And then guys like Russell Martin and, Pilar had a good game today, I think, too.
Back-to-back good games.
Yeah, back-to-back good games. So if they get the bottom of that lineup rolling, that was what made them so dangerous last year is get some hits at the bottom and get those big bats with some guys on base.
Donaldson, he's coming off of a big game. When we're looking at, 3,900 for third base on FanDuel, man, is it chasing points or is he still too cheap?
No, he's just too cheap. I mean, it is chasing
Yeah.
points, but when you got maybe the best third baseman in baseball as far as hitting, you just take it and make people catch up to you. I mean, almost like a block in basketball where you got just such a good value guy that you just take them, and if people play him, so be it. And if not, you got a little edge on the field.
Fair enough. We're both on the Blue Jay stack. You know, we mentioned Stroman, but I feel like Baltimore's so boom or bust. So, like, if we're going to target them, you know, you stack them, right?
Yeah, I always look at Baltimore as a stack team. Like, a lot of people, I guess you could use, like Kim, a lot of people have been using his +1s just because of how cheap he is on FanDuel, hitting in that 2 or 3 hole. But, I mean, I either stack them or don't play them. And on slates like this, I just don't play them a lot. I mean, Stroman isn't great, but I can just find spots I like more on this slate. So it'll probably be a no play for me.
The biggest thing I think we should note about Stroman is 60% ground ball rate to lefties and righties. Like, so I feel like that's the biggest thing we should note. So, you know, for that matter, I feel like I said, I'm going to stack them or just, you know, kind of avoid them here. You know, the one thing that I do love is I just love Trumbo. We keep getting him at 5% owned, and the guy just keeps hitting the ball over the fence.
He hits a home run every single day, it seems like. He would be, actually. I said I wouldn't use anyone as a +1, but he is a good +1 guy because he hits a home run every single day, so he has to be a good +1.
Yeah, 20 home runs on the season for him now. St. Louis at Cincinnati, Adam Wainwright, Brandon Finnegan. Yeah, buddy, this is a game. You know, I started doing my research around 10:30 on the East Coast. It's around 12:30 on the East Coast now. Wainwright's line has already started to drop. He started as like a 165, and I think he's down to like a 156 already.
Yeah, I printed it because I knew I was going to come on with you, so I printed it right when the lines came out, and he was 170 at Pinnacle, and now it's 155, so it's already dropped 15 cents.
You almost have to expect it to continue to drop. The Reds are they're hot, man. You know, we talk about hot offenses. This Reds offense is really hot.
Yeah, I've just been making it. I was struggling with for a few weeks there, but I've got on this Reds wagon, and I stack them every day, and I've just been on a tear lately. Finished real good in that monster last night, and it's nice because they're always on the opposite side of the chalk offense. It feels like they were here at Coors for a while, and everyone liked Colorado, and now everyone likes St. Louis every day for good reason. But you can get the opposite offense kind of hidden a little bit, and they're just on fire. And who's better than Duvall right now? I mean, that guy is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and when we're looking at his price, it's come down on FanDuel. Like, it's come down to 3,600. He's going to be a guy that's going to be lower owned here. I like him a lot because when we look at Wainwright, even dating back to last year, you know, his struggles have been more with righties than lefties. He hasn't really had that, you know, strikeout pitch against righties. It's down to about 14%, where it's 17% against lefties. So I love Duvall here, man. Like, you know, you don't have to sell me on Duvall. I like him a lot. And I think we can look at other guys outside of Duvall, like Zach Cozart in the leadoff spot, Suarez, and, you know, we have to throw in Jay Bruce and Joey Votto.
I mean, the Reds, I could just talk about them all day. I think they're my favorite because they have so many guys that have home run power. I mean, up and down the lineup. I mean, besides our boy Phillips, I mean, he's the only guy I usually don't play. I mean, I like Cozart. I like Suarez because he's hidden down in that 6 hole. He hits down there, no one ever plays him, and he's got some power. I mean, I usually find myself stacking like 3 to 6 or 4 to 6. Ever since they moved Phillips up and got Bruce next to Duvall, it's just a nice stack getting Bruce, Duvall, Suarez 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, definitely don't take Phillips. Hey, last time we did this podcast, and I said don't take Phillips. He had like
better take him again tomorrow, though.
I'm not taking him. Yeah, not going to happen. All right, so let's look at the other side of this thing. Finnegan, he's a lefty. You know, very moderate numbers against lefties, decent ground ball rate. The strikeout percentage doesn't really, you know, scare me too much, but, you know, the hard contact is definitely there. If you want to go contrarian here, look at some of these lefties for the Cardinals. Don't just stake Piscotty and Diaz and these guys. Look at like Brandon Moss. Look at Matt Carpenter. Go different with the lefty-lefty matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I'm going to fade the Cardinals on this slate. I like other teams more, and I don't love the Cardinals in this spot like this. I mean, coming off a just fun game against Simon in that bullpen, I think Finnegan's going to be a lot better than what they saw tonight. And I just think it's a good fade spot coming off this because everyone's going to be on them. It just looks so right for the pick, and they're going to be high owned. And I think there's just so many good offenses that I don't mind fading this spot. I know it sounds crazy.
I don't know if it's too crazy. The only crazy thing I guess would be about it is Finnegan's not really a strikeout guy. So we have a plus ballpark. We have an offense that has power that can hit for average or power. We have a shortstop who, is he not even on the slate? Oh, they moved him to third base, but he's up to 2,200 now and Johnny Peralta. So, man, when you're looking at Peralta, he's definitely going to be the chalk here. And in cash games, can you fade him?
It's just a separate point, but why did they start him at 2K? It's not like he's an unknown player. Like, why does he not start at like 3,500 or something? It makes no sense to me. It's not like he's a rookie. I mean, the guy's been in the league how long? 10 years, 12 years?
Yeah, multi-hits and back-to-back games since coming off the DL.
Back to your original question, though, he's definitely a must-play, especially in cash games. That's just too cheap.
Yeah, but in tournaments, if you want to go different, Peralta, we've seen his ownership high both nights here. If you want to go different, pay up for Donaldson. Like, pay up to be contrarian where everybody else is going to have that, 2,200, and maybe look at like a cheap first baseman or something where everybody else is going to spend up. And that's just way to be a contrarian on a 7-game slate.
You said they moved him to third base at least?
Yeah.
That at least makes it a little easier. I mean, like tonight, they were the chalk team, but you had to choose between Diaz and Peralta and then the 2 first basemen, Moss and Adams. So it made it a little difficult to stack, but now he's going to be even higher owned that you can play other guys with him. So, yeah, I like the Donaldson call a lot from you. 3,900. I might just go up to him now that it's third base eligible.
Miami Marlins, Minnesota Twins, Tom Kohler, Irvin Santana. We'd like to pick on the Twins from time to time, but Tom Kohler's not the guy we're going to pick on the Twins. He's, anytime you see a guy that has a lower ERA than his xFIP, it's always an instant red flag. And Kohler's a guy, he struggles on the road. Everything suggests that this guy has regression. It's just not a good spot to, pick on the Twins.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I have a good feel for the Twins more than most teams just the last couple of years because I play them so much. And they're starting to heat up a little bit. You got guys like Dozier's been heating up in the middle of the lineup. Plouffe's getting hot. I like Minnesota's offense a lot. That's one of the reasons I'm fine with fading St. Louis a little bit. Just that these prices with these Minnesota guys are really appealing to me.
Yeah, if you want to be different on fantasy draft today, stack the Twins because you're gonna be paying like premium dollar for these guys. Nobody's gonna stack the Twins on the slate. And dude, game theory just tells you want to be different if you're gonna play a tournament. If you're playing one lineup, then you don't want to go too crazy. But if you're playing multiple teams, man, take a shot on the Twins here.
Yeah, this is like a perfect example, like you said. All the pitchers that you're going to play are super cheap, so you can play any hitters you want. So literally no one's going to play Eduardo Nunez at 10.2K, which makes him an unbelievable tournament play. I mean, he's red hot. You're going to get him completely low-owned. And, I mean, this is the type of day where I seriously don't think you worry about prices. You just stack the teams you want, you play the guys you want, and just build the team. And I don't care if you're 3K under the salary. Just play the guys you want that gives you the best chance to win.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, we're talking pitchers. Any interest in Irvin Santana here? We have to take a guy or two here. Is he a guy you might look at?
Yeah, he's definitely in my top 3 or 4 guys. I mean, every guy we talk about, it's like, ooh, and then you realize there's just no one else. So, I mean, you have to take someone. And, I mean, versus Miami, you got as good a chance as any at somehow getting a gem out of him. So, I don't hate it.
I don't even want a gem. I just want him to go out, pitch decent. I expect the Twins to get him some run support. I don't need a gem. Give me like 6 innings, 5 Ks, and a win, and try not to give up more than 3 runs.
What do you think the leading pitcher is going to score on this slate?
So we haven't got to the 2 guys that I like yet. I feel like 2 guys have some upside on this slate, and we're going to talk about one here in the next game. So,
not Gio.
No, not Gio.
Oh,
I think Gio's interesting, but he's not a guy I'm never really excited about Gio. But on this slate, we'll talk about him here in a minute. Any Marlins bats stand out to you here against Santana?
I mean, this slate's just too good for me to take Marlins bats in this spot. I mean, I can make a case for literally any offense on this slate, but I just don't think any of the prices stick out, and none of the plays stick out to where I would choose any of them as like a +1 either.
Me and Siege talked about it yesterday. I mentioned it on the podcast. In that game 2 nights ago, Stanton hit everything hard in his first 3 at-bats. He's coming off of a 2-hit game, tonight. Stanton at 3K on FanDuel is very interesting to me. Nobody's playing him right now, and you get a guy that has multiple home run upside against a guy like Santana, who really doesn't scare us. Yeah, he's an interesting option on the slate, but he still doesn't scare us.
I don't know about not playing. He was just 40% in that monster yesterday at 29.
Yeah, but he was a lot lower tonight against the righty.
Yeah, I mean, you're right too. I mean, what did you say? He finished with 2 or 3 hits tonight, so he finally was seeing the ball a little bit.
2 hits tonight. Yep.
You might be the perfect time to get back on the wagon, and I mean, eventually he's gonna have to start hitting some bombs again. I mean, he can't be this bad forever. So, I mean, it's the same thing. People don't believe in cold streaks. I mean, how can you watch him and not believe in a cold streak?
I think they're going to come in bunches too. Like when you start, I've seen it now for the last 2 nights. When you start seeing it, it's just time to start playing him, and I feel like this is the time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I didn't think about it beforehand, but I agree. And especially when he hits that first bomb, you better be playing him that next day.
Yeah, I wish there was a really high-priced pitcher, because I feel like the Marlins stack is interesting because they're all 3,300 to 3K. You can get Ozuna, Prado, Dietrich, Bohr, Stanton. You can get whichever stack you really want, but there's just not a pitcher to pay up to, stack the Marlins here. So for that reason, I don't love them. I'm not, not against it, but it's just not a slate where you need it.
I just think in tournaments, I go back to that same point. I just don't think we should worry about salary and just if you like, especially in tournaments. I mean, obviously you wouldn't do it in cash games, but in tournaments, if you think they got a chance to be one of the leading scoring teams, I mean, just forget about salary and just play your favorite 4 guys. And I mean, I like that strategy a lot because no one's going to do it, like you said. I mean, they're going to go up to bigger and more popular bats like the Cardinals.
Moving out here, New York Mets at Milwaukee, Cologne against Jimmy Nelson. And my one pitcher comes from this game. Who is it?
I mean, it's got to be Jimmy Nelson.
It is. I like it. I figured a lot of people would think it was Cologne.
I mean, either way, I mean, it's the lowest total, it looks like. And, yeah, I mean, I don't blame you at all.
It's the lowest total on a slate that's ugly, and this game is in a hitter's ballpark, and it's the lowest total.
And it's still 8.5 moving towards 9, it looks like.
It's crazy, right? Thinking about it, it's just one of those slates. It's just a really just slate. Like Jimmy Nelson here, when we're looking at his numbers, much better at home. We have a struggling Mets team right now that's, just dealing with a ton of injuries. Cespedes back in the lineup, but, we're still missing some of your biggest bats when you don't have Lucas Duda, David Wright, not one of their biggest bats, but just a consistent hitter in that 3 spot. Really, honestly, you have to worry about, guys like Conforto and Cespedes, and you guess you could throw Granderson in there. But outside of that, this is a watered-down lineup.
Yeah, this team's been picked. You should be picking on this team for the last couple of weeks. This lineup is one of the worst in baseball right now, and I'm actually surprised that this total is 8.5 right now. It feels like it should be a little lower. I mean, it feels like a 7.5 or 8 run total just because of how weak the Mets lineup is. And how is Jimmy Nelson only -115? I mean, this line looks like the most confusing on the slate to me.
Yeah, because I'm expecting the Brewers bats to get all over Cologne here in this game. So I'm expecting the run support to, back up what I'm thinking here on Jimmy Nelson. And when we're looking at Cologne, man, there's no better against lefties, better against righties. This guy, he has a 5.7% swinging strike rate, an 88% contact rate, almost a 38% hard contact rate. Dude, I love the Brewers stack on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, every time that guy goes out, I say the same thing you just said. I'm just like, he's going to let you hit the ball. It's just a matter of actually getting a good piece. And it's just, I got to give it to the guy. I mean, it's incredible what he does for the stuff he has. I mean, he just goes out there and battles, and I don't know how he doesn't give up 7 or 8 every time.
It's true. I don't know.
It's amazing.
Like his stats just suggest like every time he takes the hill, we should stack against him.
And I do most of the time. And most of the time, I lose my money afterwards.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Ryan Braun, Scooter Gennett, Luke Roy, Chris Carter. I like all these guys here in this game. I love the Brewers stack here.
Yeah, I mean it looks ripe, and I think you're going to get it low owned too on this slate with so many more powerful offenses on it that I think you're going to get it low owned. It could be the difference maker.
Tony, let me ask you a question real quick before we continue to move on. Have you ever not got the Brewer stack at low owned?
Ah, that's true. And both of my Playboy seats I won with the Brewer stack, so I'm partial towards them. They're always low owned and they got a ton of upside. It's literally the best like tournament stack you can have. Them and the Twins are like my two favorites because they got upside and they're never owned.
I banked with Chris Carter the other night when he hit those 2 home runs. I like that stack here. I'm not going to really pick on Jimmy Nelson. I don't mind Conforto as a one-off because when Nelson does struggle, it's against lefties. So Conforto really the only guy I'm targeting, and we continue to say don't worry about price, but really favorable on FanDuel at 3,200.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about this line and how bad the Mets lineup is, just based on the line and nothing else, I think the Mets are actually an incredible offense to target if you base it on what Vegas thinks, because I can't believe the total's this high, and I can't believe they're only a plus 105 dog. So I think they may be really, really sneaky in this game. And it might be the type of thing where if you play 5 teams, you do like 2 Jimmy Nelsons and 2 Met stacks or something, or 1 Met stack, and kind of go both directions.
Yeah, this is why I asked you to join me today. I love talking tournaments, and this is a great tournament slate. So it's a strategy I talk about on the podcast all the time, and I feel like this is a spot that you definitely want to use it. You know, you want to have Nelson exposure because the pitching is weak, but you definitely want to have some Mets exposure as well. So I like that strategy a lot. Man, it's hard not to play Conforto over on Fantasy Draft at 7,200. He's the first of my 3 plays that you really want to have over on Draft. It's just too cheap.
Yeah, 7,200. I mean, really, you're going to be able to play whoever you want with these pitchers. And I couldn't agree with you more. You cannot get married. If you're playing tournaments tomorrow, 5 or 10 teams or whatever you do, 3 teams, you just can't get married to a pitcher like you can on some slates. Like tonight, I played David Price on every team because I really liked him. But you can't do that tomorrow. Don't be scared to stack against your pitcher on a different team like you were just talking about. I mean, I think it's a great strategy on a slate like tomorrow.
Yeah, anything's fair game. If your pitcher only gives up 3 earned runs, you're probably going to be in a good spot.
Oh, yeah. If you told me right now, any of these guys, I could get 6 or 7 innings, like 5 Ks and 3 or 4 runs, I'd probably sign up if they get the win with it.
Washington at Chicago, taking on the White Sox. Gio Gonzalez, Miguel Gonzalez here. The one reason that I'm considering Gio on FanDuel, Miguel Gonzalez is awful. He's awful against righties. He's awful against lefties. Nothing suggests that, he's not going to get better. It's just one of those things where, man, you have to like Murphy and Harper, Worth, Ramos, Rendon, Zimmerman hit a home run. You got a hot offense here in Washington. I think they're definitely going to be the chalk, but I think Gio is the guy you want to look at on FanDuel on a one-pitcher site just because the win is so important.
Yeah, I think he's the safest. I mean, him and Stroman are the safest for wins in my mind. I mean, Wainwright's right there with him, but I don't think he's got a safe win by any means. So, I mean, Gio is definitely in play. I mean, I'd say in cash games even on FanDuel just because of the win. And if you get the win in 6 innings tomorrow, I think you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard not to think that Gio just pitches well here, well enough to win and maybe give up 2 or 3 runs because, you have to worry about Todd Frazier and you have to worry about Jose Abreu. Both these guys hit left-handed pitching well. So you have to worry about those 2 guys, but you just have to expect the Washington National bats on the road here, getting guaranteed 9 innings against pitchers like Miguel Gonzalez. You have to expect the Nationals to give Gio run support.
Yeah, they're heating up too. They've been really hitting the ball nice, and yeah, I mean, I think they'll be the chalk, but for good reason. I mean, I can't see them not scoring 4 or 5 runs minimal.
Yeah, one thing that I like to target, especially when I'm looking at tournament sacks, I like looking at home run per 9. Miguel Gonzalez, big home run per 9 to lefties. It's 1.68. That's really favorable for guys like Harper and Murphy. Every day, I just gave out one guy, Conforto, in cash games. I like him a lot. The second one's going to come from this game, and it's Jason Worth, 6,800 over on Fantasy Draft. It's another guy you want to look at here, just underpriced, under that 8K price range. Worth in that 2 spot. You have to look at him here, right?
He's just absolutely on fire, too. He's another guy, like, same thing, hot streaks, how's it not real? The guy's killing the ball. I mean, 6,800, it goes back to what you were saying. I mean, why can't we have an ace on this slate and just play him on every team and find our bats with him? Because these prices are just so good. I don't know how you can play all the guys you want without leaving salary on the table.
And then the third one is going to come from this game as well, and it's Ryan Zimmerman at 7,600. All three of these guys under 8K like every day. Hey, if you're going to play Zimmerman and Worth, fit in Murphy and Harper. Just go ahead and do your 4-man, 5-man, 6-man Washington stack here.
These 5, 6, 7 game slates are my favorite ones to stack, just because every once in a while you get those slates where some offenses disappoint and then there's one team that goes crazy, and if you stack them, you just got such a big edge. I mean, I don't think it's a slate where you handpick your team, because a lot of people are going to do that with this pitching. They're going to go through and say, okay, give me Harper, give me Trout, or whoever. Give me all the top guys, basically, with their pitchers. And I'd just rather stack and leave money on the table.
I agree. Now, we said Gio's pretty safe. You have to like Frazier and Abreu here, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like picking on Gio. I won a lot of money with the Reds over the weekend against Gio because everybody was scared to stack against him or something. I don't know why. They were all like 2% though, and they went crazy on him.
Yeah, just don't play any lefties against Gio, unless you're expecting him to get rocked and you're going to get to the bullpen early. Gio, just really good numbers against lefties. Doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. He has a .16 home run per 9 to lefties dating back to last year. Just no upside with the lefties, and you want upside on this slate.
Yeah, I agree. He throws that big bender in there that's really hard to – I was just watching Cargo's up to bat right now, and it always happens with him with lefties. Like, they throw that ball away, and he just has no chance at hitting it. And that's what Gio throws a lot, like that breaker to the outside. So, yeah, all the righties against him, which is basically just Abreu and Frazier in that spot. So I like both of them a lot.
Yeah, if you want to go crazy in a tournament, you can throw in Garcia as well if he's in the lineup, maybe in that 5-6 spot behind Frazier and Abreu. He's another guy that hits lefties really well. Like you said, we want to pick on Gio from time to time. I just don't know if this is a slate we really want to stack against him. We don't have a lot of righties here to target. Let's move on to that last game, Cleveland at Seattle. Josh Tomlin, Nathan Karns. I have interest in both these pitchers just because we're at Safeco in, what's the worst that's going to happen here? I stack against Tomlin all the time. It's just one of my favorite things to do. He has a massive hard contact rate to righties. He struggles with righties. He struggles with home runs to righties. But, for the most part, he's really good against lefties, and he's going to see a lot of lefties here from Seattle.
Yeah, with all the gas cans on this slate, I don't see any reason really to target the offenses in this game. And like you said, I got some interest in both pitchers. I don't love either one of them, but on this slate, these two and then Jimmy Nelson and Cologne are really the top guy. Or I guess Stroman too. Those will be my top 5. And I don't really know anything that separates the other ones besides the spreads, so I'm fine with any of them at the moment.
One bat that I do like here as a one-off play is Nelson Cruz. He's hitting the ball well right now. I just mentioned how much Tomlin struggles against righties. This guy has home runs in 4 of his last 6 games. He's warming up, multi-home run game. This is a guy you definitely want to target here against Tomlin. I'm hoping that where I don't have Tomlin, he can get around Cruz. But where I have Cruz, I'm hoping the tournament team goes off with him.
Yeah, one of the craziest things I've heard when watching a game was they said Cruz has never had a 3-home run game. I couldn't believe it with all the big games he's had. I was watching him last night when he came up, and can you believe that? All the big games he's had and home runs, he's never hit 3 in a game.
This is a guy with a slugging percentage, like massive slugging percentage. I can't believe that. That's crazy.
It blew me away because so many times it feels like he explodes, just like he was doing that night with 2 bombs and cost me a bunch of money in that monster, but I just love him. He's got as much upside as anyone. He's only 8,700 too on Fantasy Draft.
So cheap. That's why I said I like him as a one-off play a lot here. So not typically, but I feel like this might be a slate. So I want to get your thoughts. What is your thoughts on having a Josh Tomlin team with a Nelson Cruz on that lineup?
Slates like this, it's fine to do it. And even if he hits like a 2, usually you would say just like a solo shot won't hurt you. But in this case, even if he was up with a guy on base, I wouldn't completely hate it if he gave up a 2-run bomb. I know it sounds crazy, and the math probably is working against me if somebody smart enough was smart enough to figure it out. But I don't hate it at all. I mean, I can make a case for that on almost every team.
Yeah, I feel like if Tomlin's going to get hurt, it's going to be Cruz. So I might like hedge one team with both those guys and just see what happens. But not something that I typically do. But on a 7-game slate that we don't have a standout pitcher. Like, you know, you're going to pay up for either Gio, Jimmy, Tomlin, Carnes, or, you know, we can look at some of these cheaper guys. So Stroman 11-2 on Fantasy Draft. That's super interesting just because there's not really a clear-cut option here. Let's play some home run derby, Tony. I'll let you lead it off here. And I got one on Siege last night, so you got to make up for it.
Let's see what we got here. Let me load the old overall list. You can go first if you want while I'm pulling this list up of the whole thing.
You know, I never go first, so I'm going to take this opportunity and go first, and I'm going to take my boy Nelson Cruz.
All righty. I will go with Josh Donaldson.
Donaldson, I like it a lot. I'm going to go – man, it's super chalky, but I feel like this is a slate if you mix in some chalk with some, you know, some contrarian plays. I like Harper here a lot. I think he hits a home run in this game.
Harper, yeah, I've been off him a little bit just because he doesn't pitch. But, I mean, anytime he comes up with guys on base, he's got a good chance of throwing something. I will go with maybe my favorite player on the slate that I think he'll be lower owned than he should be by a mile, Joey Votto. I think he's going to hit a home run for sure off Wainwright, so I need him on my team.
That's solid analysis there. I wanted to go Adam Duvall here.
You can't take my boy. I was going to come back with him.
But I'm not going to take Adam Duvall because I like Chris Carter so much for a home run here in this game. So I'm going to go Chris Carter off of Cologne.
I got to take Duvall then. I didn't think you were going to take him. You made me shiver in my skin when you said it.
I talk about Duvall on the podcast, I feel like at least 3 or 4 times out of the 5 days.
How is he never owned, though? Like, every day he's 5%, and he's as good a power hitter as anyone in baseball right now, and he's 35 freaking hundred on FanDuel.
I say it every day. Him and Trumbo are under-owned every slate.
And they hit a bomb every day. Like, it's just it's just amazing.
It's crazy. So this is a really interesting one, and on a slate like this is really fun. If you had to pick one pitcher not named Gio Gonzalez at the end of the day to get a win, who would it be?
I think it's Stroman. Like, I can't see Toronto losing to Wilson at home. I mean, I think it would have to be him. I mean, I could see Gio losing if he gives up a bomb or two to Frazier and Abreu type thing. So I'll go with Stroman.
I think I'm going to stick to my gut here, and my gut's telling me Jimmy Nelson against the Mets.
I like it.
All right, well, we're going to hop off here, and I'm hoping when we hop off here, the Dodgers score 15 runs in this inning. Tony, it was a pleasure to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And, I mean, thanks, Hoop, for making a little donation to my Wendy's fund, my food fund here this week. It was nice of him to make a little donation.
So you're a Wendy's guy. Is it nuggets and Frosties?
It just depends. I mean, I'm a big boy, so I like to shake it up. I mean, sometimes get some nuggets, sometimes a cheeseburger. I mean, the spicy chicken's got to be the go-to.
I feel like I need to have a 3-man show with you and Britt Devine one day and just talk food for the first or last 30 minutes of the show.
He said he's on a diet lately. I was disappointed.
Yeah, he's not doing us right there, you know.
No, I mean, that's a letdown for sure.
Yeah, it surely is. If you guys haven't checked out our sponsor site, fantasydraft.com, make sure you check them out. It's a very interesting slate to play over there today here on the 7-game slate. So if you want to go a little crazy, you can get in almost any bat you want with 2 pitchers. So, you know, we talked about it a lot. So make sure you guys check them out. Use promo code Grinders. And, you know, that means you get incentives here at Roto Grinders for fantasy draft for free for a year, and you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. Thanks to Tony for joining me today, and we'll be back tomorrow with Chalk Talk with some good pitchers on the hill, and me and Hoop talking about, you know, I'm gonna bust his balls here about some Big T bucks. So tune into that. We'll be back. Good luck tonight in your contest, and we'll see you then.